you know, for people who are outraged at seeing Harley being sexually aggressive and sexually active, I'm sorry, but they just haven't been paying attention, because she's been that way since basically she was, you know, conceived, you know, 25 years ago.
Wanna try some of my pie?
Because it's Thursday.
Hello, Watchtower Database, and welcome back to the Vanishing Point, the only bi-weekly show that, for some reason, can't get over talking about Harley Quinn's sex life. Originally, I wrote this script to be the Vanishing Point that came out around Halloween time, but then we had our break. So this one's been sitting on the back burner, but I thought, what is the spookiest day of the year other than Halloween? And of course, it's January 10th, because I said it is. Initially, this was gonna be a deep dive into the mythos of the Scarecrow, but while researching him, I came across something that I thought might be a little bit more interesting. Of course, I can't take credit for this theory 100% by myself, as I found it on the anime superhero forums, which used to be Toon Zone. So I'm gonna give credit to the poster Carcool over there. I don't remember exactly how he worded the post, and I don't have it right here in front of me because I am terrible at planning, but essentially Carcool suggests that there's a high possibility that both Scarecrow and Harley Quinn's lives have crossed paths before they were the masked villains that they became. After all, do you guys remember this clip here?
Hi, Professor Crane.
Good evening, child.
For those of you unaware, this is the first conversation that Harley and Scarecrow have on screen. They were both seen in the same room at the same time in the previous episode Trial, which came before in both production and air date orders, but Scarecrow had no speaking lines in that episode, so other than them being in the same room, there's really no precedent for the characters knowing each other. So why the familiarity? Well, before the events of Batman the Animated Series, it seems irrefutable that the two happen to be in the same place at the same time, and that their relationship might have been intimate. Let me explain. Now, Scarecrow first appeared in the episode Nothing to Fear, which debuted in September of 1992. In the episode, his main motive for becoming a criminal is to exact revenge on Gotham State University for having fired him from being part of their psychology department. Fast forward a year and a half, and we see the release of the Batman Adventures special, Mad Love, in February of 1994. Now, most of you guys are aware of this comic, at least in the extent that it was adapted into the new Batman Adventures episode of the same name. While the episode is mostly faithful to the comic, it does leave out a few things, mostly for time reasons and possibly due to censors. One of those things being that Harley was a student at Gotham State University and had a goal of getting a degree through their psychology department. That's right, she was in the very same department that Jonathan Crane got fired from. Strengthening that connection though, both Mad Love and Harley's Holiday were written by Paul Dini, making me think that perhaps the line was an intentional nod. But does the timeline hold up? Well, Paul Dini has stated that he thinks of Harley as the same age as Ivy, 28 years old. And while DCAU creative types have had back and forths over whether or not characters actually age in the shows, we do have an anchor for Ivy's age already. If you recall back to the Two-Face episode that we did, you can click the link up here to check that out. We learned that Ivy's first appearance in the DCAU was in 1993. And in that episode, Pretty Poison, we see her ID card stating that she is 28 years old at the time. So if Harley's the same age at the same time, then this means she would have started college likely about 10 years ago when she was 18 years old in 1983. Now this is around the same time that we just found out the flashbacks from Mask of the Phantasm occurs, which is set 9 to 10 years before the start of Batman the Animated Series. So can we be sure that Harley and Scarecrow crossed paths? Well, while I haven't pinned down an exact date for Scarecrow's debut yet, we know that it's 1990 at the very earliest because of this Tiny Toons Adventures magazine that we see, which ran from the years 1990 to 1992. So at the very least, it seems like he would have been employed at the university sometime in the late 80s. This puts the two rogues on a direct collision course because becoming a licensed clinical psychologist takes at least 8 to 12 years of higher education, putting Harley's graduation date sometime between 1991 and 1995, directly overlapping with when we assume Jonathan Crane was still working for the Gotham State University Psychology Department. I think it goes even deeper than the connection of same place, same time though. Remember when I said earlier that there was some stuff cut from the Mad Love episode for the censors? In the comic, it is directly implied that Harley is not passing her classes because she's good at them, but because she is sleeping with the professors. And this really just leads me to believe that there was most likely something intimate about their relationship. After all, she does refer to him as Professor Crane, and even later during Batman Gotham Adventures, she still refers to him as the Professor. This all leads me to my question of the day though. Given the overwhelming evidence of these two characters' history, do you think that it's possible that after the Joker died, Harley may have returned to the Scarecrow and maybe he's the grandfather of the Dini twins? It would really explain why there was no grandfather figure present in Return of the Joker, given that how much older Jonathan Crane is than Harley. It's very likely that he would have passed by that time. I've got another theory that Scarecrow may have been behind Harley surviving the fall that we see in the flashback from that movie that kind of ties it all together and makes me think that it's possible. But right now, I'm just curious, what do you guys think? That all being said, I would love to thank these lovely people for their support on Patreon this month. If you don't see your name on the list, for a pledge as low as $1, we can tack it on for the next time. If you're interested, there's even more perks that come along with that, including hangout sessions with James, Ted, and sometimes myself, or custom artwork for James, or even getting to vote for polls to help us decide which videos to make. But if you want to check it out, it's just patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. You can type it in your URL bar up there. You can click the link in the description. You could ignore this and not even worry about it if you want to. But if you are interested in extra stuff from the Watchtower Database family, that's where you can find it. As always, I've been Maddie, this has been The Vanishing Point. We'll continue to stay those things so long as you continue to stay you. I'll see you in 2 weeks.